there is something we need to talk about. I know a lot of us don't want to talk about it. But what is actually up with that hoodie that ex-PM Datuk Sri Najib is wearing? You know the one I'm talking about, right? That Bosku one? That is basically an avocado toast and a vape pen away from trying to be relevant. Okay, putting that aside, there is really something more important we need to talk about. Sex. Specifically, sex education and the socio-economic impact when it's done half and done badly. Recently, the Ministry of Education urged schools to not take sex education lightly in efforts to tackle sexual crime against children. And Deputy Education Minister Teoni Ching said that it should absolutely not be sidelined in favour of other subjects. Because yes, it is important, and not only for the reasons the government pointed out. But that doesn't mean that it gets any easier to talk about, especially for Asians, who seem pretty okay leaving it to other people in favour of explaining it themselves. Hence why I think most of us learned it from friends, books, or the internet. Actually, personally for me, the best advice I've gotten on how to deal with it comes from modern-day philosophers, hip-hop trio Salt and Pepper.
Let's talk about sex for now. To the people at home or in the crowd, it keeps coming up anyhow. Don't decoy, avoid, or make void the topic, cause that ain't gonna stop it.
They are essentially telling you in 10 seconds how to treat sex education, what it's taking me 6 minutes. In fact, this echoes what Women, Family and Community Development Deputy Minister Hannah Yeoh said in January, that given the stats that 9% of total number of students in removed classes are sexually active, that we as a society should stop being in denial and that the taboo around sex education needs to be removed. More chillingly, she added that if it's not taught properly, it will damage a generation. And she's not exaggerating. From 2012 to 2016, there have been almost 80,000 cases of girls below 18 getting pregnant. Putting aside the emotional costs, which are devastating, but sometimes can be politically charged, although it shouldn't be, teenage pregnancies have a cost to the economy. The WHO points out that pregnancies often cause girls to drop out of schools, which means lower levels of education, fewer skills and opportunities for employment. Child marriages reduce future earnings for girls by an estimated 9%. Okay, to be fair, Malaysia does have some form of sex education, but it seems to be patchy in places and more worryingly, preachy. But to give credit where it's due, primary textbooks do have clear guidelines on what is good touch and bad touch. It is a very good start, and building on that would at least give kids the assurance that it is okay to speak up and that it is okay to call out adults if something feels wrong. However, go into secondary school books and that is where things get a little bit murky because moral values tend to get woven in and that may not be the best way of teaching teenagers about sex. So this is the part where I talk solutions. Yeoh says that the revamp for sex education still remains in the works as more feedback is needed. In the meantime, I too have some suggestions. The first, and to me is the most important, is that it is taught in a secular manner. Sex ed is currently taught in Malaysia under PE and health education. It should be kept there. One of the best countries in the world to take inspiration from is Denmark. Sex ed there has been compulsory since 1970 and guidelines are given to teachers on how to deal with it. No vulgar terminology, no inappropriate photographs, and a lot of open discussion. And it works. Figures from Statistics Denmark shows that teen pregnancies have fallen from 995 in 2008 to 584 in 2016. Teaching it in this manner also takes out any element of right or wrong, which in some cases can be very subjective. So there you go. But whatever form the syllabus takes, the biological part of it aside, one of the biggest things that should be emphasized is the concept of consent, and taught in a way that is not tied to any religious belief, but like the Danish system, is tied to identity and value of self. And one final thing, it needs to be more balanced between genders. The sad fact is that a lot of emphasis is always placed on what girls can do and how to protect themselves. Lest we forget the uproar over this photo that went viral and got called out, and rightly so, about how poor Amira needs to wear proper clothes unless she brings shame to her family and maybe might not be liked by her friends. But where is the part about what it is boys can do? Why are there no chapters for boys about how women should be treated and what consent actually means? I would even settle for them watching episodes of Law & Order SVU to get the point across.
Whether you're a John in the South Bronx or a $3 million a year talk show host, no means no.
I know I have talked a lot about what schools can do, but needless to say, parents also need to do their share of the heavy lifting as well. And making all these materials available to them maybe will at least give them an idea on how to get started. In the end, though, of it, I think that we as adults have to make peace with the fact that we will never have all the answers. But at least we have a good place to start. Because there will always be that one loudmouth kid that will come out and ask loudly, so how much fun is sex anyway? Just saying.